Welcome back to the deep dive. We've got quite the classic lined up today, based on your notes. John Bunyan's The Pilgrim's Progress from 1678. A massive work.
Oh, absolutely. Foundational stuff. And, it often seen purely as this like 17th century religious text, but it's really this powerful allegory. Bunyan actually presents it as a dream he had.
A dream, right. So it's the spiritual journey, but mapped onto a physical road trip. Very treacherous.
Exactly. And our goal today, I think, is to really dig into that journey. We follow the main character, Christian, from the city of destruction all the way to the celestial city.
And we want to unpack the lessons, right?
Yeah.
What are the big surprises, the major traps Bunyan lays out for someone on this kind of spiritual path?
It all kicks off with this intense anxiety. The main character, who's first called Graceless, is just burdened. He's got rags on, this heavy weight on his back, this book he's reading.
And he cries out, "What shall I do?" It's pure desperation.
It really is. And the reaction from his family and neighbors is, well, it's not great. They think he's kind of lost it, mentally deranged even.
So they try to snap him out of it with what, harshness?
Yeah, harsh and cruel conduct, Bunyan says. So his journey starts from this place of inner crisis, but also, external rejection. He has to leave alone.
Then he meets Evangelist, the guide figure.
Who points him to the narrow gate, gives him that scroll. Super clear instruction. Flee from the wrath to come.
Pretty stark, but he barely gets going before people try to stop him.
Right, his neighbors. Obstinate and pliable. Obstinate just completely dismisses the whole thing, thinks Christians chasing some fantasy inheritance that can never perish, spoil, or fade.
But pliable, he's different.
Pliable is tempted. He likes the sound of the celestial city. So he actually decides to go with Christian, for a bit anyway. Until they hit the first real obstacle. The Swamp of Despond.
Yes. The very miry swamp. What exactly is that, allegorically?
Bunyan describes it as the place where all the scum and filth from realizing you're a sinner collects. It's the weight of conviction, the despair that can come with it.
And it says it can't be fixed, even though the king's workers tried.
Yeah, they threw in millions of wholesome instructions.
Yeah.
Basically good advice and teachings, but the swamp remains. It suggests that kind of despair isn't just fixed by, positive thinking or following rules. It's a real hazard.
And Pliable falls in and he's done.
Instantly. Gives up, crawls out the side closest to home, and just goes back. No more pilgrimage for him.
But Christian gets through with help, and then he makes, well, maybe an even bigger mistake.
You could say that. He meets Mr. Worldly Wise Man.
Okay, the name says it all, really.
Pretty much. This guy tells Christian that Evangelist's path, the narrow way, is way too hard. Too dangerous. Lions, shadows, all sorts of trouble.
So he offers an easier way.
Exactly. A shortcut. He says, look, get rid of that burden fast. Go see Mr. Legality and his son Civility. They live in the village of morality.
So basically, just follow the rules, be a good person, live morally, and you'll be fine. Forget this difficult, narrow way.
That's the pitch. And it sounds sensible, right? Worldly wisdom. But it's a trap.
Why? What happens when Christian tries it?
He heads towards this high hill near morality, which represents Mount Sinai, the law. And as he gets closer, he gets terrified. He thinks the hill is going to fall on him. Fire flashes out.
Because the law, it condemns. It doesn't save.
Precisely. It shows him his sin. It brings a curse, but it offers no way to actually remove the burden. Trying to get rid of the burden through law and self-effort is fundamentally dangerous. It leads to fear and condemnation, not freedom.
Wow. Okay, so that's a dead end. He has to turn back.
He does, feeling deeply ashamed. Evangelist finds him again, puts him back on the right path, the narrow way, and this time it leads him to the most critical moment.
The cross.
The cross. He sees it on a hill with a tomb, a sepulcher below it. And Bunyan writes that just as Christian stood looking at the cross, his burden just loosed from his shoulders. Instantly tumbles off his back, rolls down the hill, right into the mouth of the sepulcher, and he never saw it again. Gone.
That must have been, the relief.
Absolutely. It's this powerful image of unearned grace. The burden isn't worked off. It's removed at the side of the cross.
And then the shining ones appear.
Yes, 3 of them. The first one says, your sins are forgiven. The second takes off his rags and gives him this beautiful embroidered coat, a new identity.
Symbolizing righteousness, maybe?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the third one marks his forehead and gives him a sealed scroll. A certificate. He'll need that later.
So burden gone, new clothes, new identity, sins forgiven, got his ticket. What's next?
Instruction. He needs to understand what's happened and what lies ahead. So he goes to the house of the interpreter.
And this place is like a series of living parables, visual lessons.
That's a great way to put it. Lots of significant rooms and scenes. The one that always strikes me is the dusty parlor.
Okay, tell us about that.
So Christian sees a room just thick with dust.
Yeah.
Everywhere. The interpreter calls a man to sweep it.
And sweeping is the law.
Represents the law, yes. And what happens when he sweeps? The dust flies everywhere. It doesn't clean the room. It just stirs up the sin, makes it impossible to breathe, almost chokes Christians.
So the law makes sin more apparent, more agitated.
Exactly. It reveals the dust, the sin, maybe even provokes it, but it has no power to actually remove it or cleanse the situation.
So what does work?
Then the interpreter calls a maiden, who represents the gospel. She comes in and just sprinkles the room lightly with water. And then the room can be swept and cleaned easily. The dust settles, it's washed away. The gospel makes cleansing possible. It subdues sin where the law only stirred it up.
That's a really clear contrast. Law reveals, gospel cleanses.
And there are other lessons too, like passion and patience, to children representing wanting things now versus waiting for eternal rewards. But maybe the most chilling one.
Go on.
The man in the iron cage.
Oh, yeah, that sounds ominous.
It is. Christian sees a man locked in this cage looking absolutely despairing. And the man explains he was once a flourishing professor of faith, but he gave in to worldly lusts, stopped being vigilant.
And now he's trapped.
He believes he sinned beyond forgiveness. He says he's hardened his heart so much he cannot repent. He feels shut out from God's mercy entirely. It's the danger of despair, of believing grace has run out for you.
Wow. So right after seeing the power of grace at the cross and the gospel in the parlor, he sees the potential endpoint of, well, of falling away and losing hope.
It's a stark warning. Keep watch. Don't presume upon grace. The journey requires ongoing vigilance.
So, armed with these lessons, he continues. And the path doesn't get easier, does it?
Not at all. He faces the hill difficulty, a steep climb. He sees others like Simple, Sloth, and Presumption asleep in chains, refusing help. They represent spiritual laziness and overconfidence.
And he meets Formalist and Hypocrisy. What's their deal?
They didn't come through the proper gate, the narrow way. They found a shortcut, basically just climbed over the wall to get onto the path.
Trying to get the benefits without the proper entrance, the proper foundation.
Exactly. They represent religious observance without true conversion or commitment. Christian warns them they're like thieves and robbers in God's eyes, but they just laugh it off.
Then comes the Valley of the Shadow of Death. That sounds intense.
Oh, it is. Bunyan paints this terrifying picture. It's a narrow path, darkness all around. On one side, a deep ditch. On the other, a dangerous bog or quagmire.
So one false step either way.
Disaster. And the path itself runs right by the mouth of hell. He hears demonic whispers, terrible suggestions.
And he needs a different weapon here.
Yes, he has to put away his sword.
Yeah.
The weapon here is all prayer. It's about relying completely on God in the face of, well, overwhelming spiritual and psychological assault.
It even says he gets confused, thinking the blasphemous thoughts whispered at him are his own.
Yes, it shows that kind of deep spiritual warfare, the battles of the mind, the struggle against thoughts that feel alien but are terrifyingly close.
He gets through that, thankfully, and then he gains a companion.
Yes. Faithful. A true friend and fellow pilgrim, which is a huge encouragement. But no sooner do they team up than they face, perhaps, the biggest external test. Vanity Fair.
Evangelist warned them about this place, didn't he?
He did. He said it's a town set up ages ago where absolutely everything the world values is bought and sold.
Like what?
Oh, everything. Houses, lands, trades, places, honors, preferments, titles, countries, kingdoms, lusts, pleasures, and Bunyan ads and whatnot. Basically, all worldly ambitions, possessions, and sinful desires are on display.
It's the world system, concentrated.
Exactly. And the pilgrims, Christian and faithful, they stand out immediately because they're dressed differently, talk differently, and they refuse to even look at the merchandise.
What happens when the merchants press them asking what they want to buy?
They give that famous answer, we buy the truth.
Which, predictably, doesn't go down well in Vanity Fair.
Not at all. It causes a huge uproar. They're seen as crazy, disruptive. They end up being beaten, covered in dirt, put in a cage for people to mock.
It leads to Faithful's martyrdom, right?
Yes. Faithful is put on trial before a judge named Lord Hategood, with a jury packed with enemies of faith like Mr. Malice and Mr. No Good. It's a complete sham trial.
And the sentence?
Execution.
Oh.
And it's brutal. Scourged, beaten, lanced, stoned, stabbed, and finally burned at the stake. A horrific death.
But there's a twist.
Immediately. As he dies, A chariot with horses comes down from the clouds and carries faithful soul directly to the celestial gate. Intense suffering leads to instant glory.
In this whole event, the persecution and faithful's constancy, it actually has a positive effect too.
It does. A man named Hopeful, who lives in Vanity Fair, witnesses their testimony and faithful's courageous death. And he's converted. He decides to leave Vanity Fair and join Christian on the pilgrimage.
So loss, but also gain. A new companion.
Exactly. But the challenges shift again. After surviving outright persecution, they face more subtle dangers, like Mr. Bunyan's.
Another one of those revealing names.
Definitely. Mr. Bunyan's is from the town of Fair Speech. He and his friends, Mr. Hold the World, Mr. Money Love, Mr. Save All, they're all about a comfortable religion.
What does that mean exactly?
They only follow religion when it's popular, respectable, and crucially profitable. When religion walks in golden slippers, as they say, they're perfectly happy to change their opinions to match whoever is in power or has money.
They actually argue that using religion to get rich or gain status is a good thing.
They do. They see it as practical, a good and profitable endeavor. Why shouldn't you benefit from being religious?
And Christian's response?
He completely refutes it. He points out that true faith often involves suffering and loss, like the apostles, or like Faithful just did. He calls their thinking hypocritical, like the Pharisees or Judas, who seemed religious but were driven by greed. You can't serve God and money.
So another trap avoided. What about the silver mine, Hill Lucre?
Ah, yes. They come near this hill, and a man named Demos calls out, inviting them to come look at a silver mine just off the path. Easy riches.
Tempting, surely.
Very. Hopeful is actually keen to go look. He says, let's go see. It shows even a sincere pilgrim can be momentarily tempted by wealth.
But Christian stops him.
Yes. Christian remembers Evangelist's warnings and, crucially, points to something nearby. A pillar of salt.
Lot's wife.
Exactly. Turned into a pillar of salt for looking back towards Sodom with a covetous heart. A stark warning right there on the path about the danger of being lured away by worldly wealth. Demas is a false guide.
They need constant vigilance, don't they?
All the time. Because soon after avoiding the mine, they get tricked again. They follow a path that seems right, led by someone who seems respectable.
Who's this?
A black man, clothed with a very light robe. He's called a Flatterer. He praises them, tells them they're doing great, and leads them onto a path he says is the right way.
And it isn't.
No. He leads them straight into a net they can't escape from. It shows how easily flattery and false assurances can lead even experienced pilgrims astray if they aren't careful.
How do they get out?
A shining one comes to rescue them. But it's not just a rescue. He asks them why they didn't follow the map the shepherds gave them earlier on the Delectable Mountains.
They forgot the directions.
They did. Or ignored them, maybe relying on the flatterer's smooth words instead. So the shining one frees them, but then he disciplines them. He actually whips them with a whip of small cords.
Ouch, why?
To teach them a lesson, to reinforce the importance of sticking to the true path, following the right instructions, and not being swayed by deception, however pleasant it seems. It's a painful reminder that there are consequences for carelessness.
Okay, lesson learned, hopefully. What's the next big hurdle?
Well, they meet Atheist.
Atheist.
Atheist, yep. And he's walking away from the celestial city, back toward the world they came from, and he's laughing at them.
Laughing.
He tells them he's been on this journey too. He spent 20 years searching for the celestial city.
Yeah.
And he couldn't find it.
So he concluded.
There is no such place as you dream of. He's given up completely, and now mocks anyone still trying. It's the voice of cynical despair based on, failed personal experience.
How do they handle that? That's a tough one.
Hopeful steps up here. He reminds Christian, didn't we see the gate of the city from the Delectable Mountains? He relies on the past glimpse of truth they were given, their prior experience of God's reality, rather than atheists' claim. Faith holds firm against doubt.
That's crucial. Relying on what was revealed, not just present feelings or someone else's despair.
Exactly. Then they enter the enchanted ground.
Sounds nice, but probably isn't.
Definitely not. The very air in this place makes travelers incredibly drowsy. The danger here is spiritual apathy, just wanting to lie down and sleep, giving up so close to the end.
How to evade it?
Christian realizes they have to keep talking. They have to stay mentally and spiritually alert. So they engage in this deep conversation about their conversion experiences, about the nature of faith and fear, keeping each other awake and focused.
And it's here they meet ignorance again.
Yes, ignorance catches up to them. He's traveling alone, quite cheerful.
But his whole approach is wrong, isn't it? We met him briefly before.
Fundamentally wrong. from Bunyan's perspective. Ignorance trusts entirely in himself. He thinks he's a good person, follows his good notions, does his best.
And he believed that's enough, that Christ will just sort of top up his good deeds.
Pretty much. He talks about Christ justifying his obedience to the law. He doesn't grasp the idea of needing Christ's righteousness imputed to him, of salvation being entirely by grace through faith. He's relying on his own efforts and feelings.
Self-reliance versus God's provision, a running theme.
The core theme, really. Christian tries to explain it to him, but ignorance just dismisses it. He's comfortable in his ignorance.
Okay, so they leave ignorance behind, and finally, they reach the end.
Almost. They reach the final barrier, the river of death. There's no bridge. They're told they have to cross it to reach the celestial city on the other side.
And the river, it's not the same for everyone.
No. The men standing by tell them the depth of the water depends on how much they believe in the king of the city. Their faith determines the difficulty of their passage through death.
How does it go for Christian? He's the hero. Surely he walks across easily.
Quite the opposite. Christian starts to sink almost immediately. He's overwhelmed by fear, by the memory of his past sins. He cries out that he'll drown, that darkness surrounds him.
Even after everything, all the way he's come.
Yes. It's incredibly realistic, I think. Facing death, even the most experienced believer can falter, can be flooded with fear and doubt.
So how does he make it?
Hopeful. Stay strong. His faith seems more steady at this point. He keeps encouraging Christian, reminding him of God's promises, of the reality of the city they're heading towards. He helps pull Christian through the deep waters.
So companionship is vital right to the very end.
Absolutely. Eventually, Christian finds his footing again, recalling God's faithfulness, and they both make it across to the other side.
And they arrive. The celestial city.
Yes, glorious, shining, built of pearls and precious stones. Angels meet them. They present their certificates, the scrolls they were given back at the cross.
The ones ignorance doesn't have.
Exactly. Their certificates are accepted, and they are welcomed into the city with joy and music. They made it.
But wait, what about ignorance? You mentioned him. How does he cross the river?
Well, this is the final, chilling contrast. Ignorance gets across much more easily than Christian did.
Easier? How?
There's a ferryman named Vain Hope who helps him across. He doesn't struggle in the deep water like Christian. He arrives at the gate quite confidently.
So vain hope, false hope, gives him an easy ride.
Seems that way. He gets to the gate and knocks, expecting entry based on his own perceived goodness and easy passage. The king asks for his certificate. Ignorance stumbles around he doesn't have one. He never went to the cross, never received that mark, that imputed righteousness.
So despite crossing the river,
he's rejected. He relied on himself and a false hope. The angels bind him hand and foot and carry him away. They take him to a door they saw on the side of a hill earlier.
Don't say it.
The byway to hell. Bunyan ends the dream by saying, "Then I saw that there was a way to hell, even from the gates of heaven."
Wow. What a final image. So the whole pilgrimage, it boils down to this relentless test, not just of endurance, but of how you travel. Knowledge, true faith, persistence.
Contrasted against all the easier-looking paths. Worldly wise man's self-help morality, Bunyan's religion for profit, talkative's words without action, and finally, ignorance's self-trust and easy crossing provided by vain hope.
The journey isn't just about getting there. It's about getting there the right way, relying on the right things. It's internal.
Entirely. It's about constant vigilance against complacency, against worldly lures, against trusting yourself instead of the king's provision.
So thinking about that ending, what does this all mean for you listening now? Bunyan makes that shocking point, a path to hell right from heaven's gate. Christian struggles terribly in the river. Ignorance gets an easy ferry ride.
Why is Christian's hard-won, faith-gripping struggle fundamentally better, more real, than ignorance's smooth passage via vain hope? What does that contrast tell us about the nature, maybe even the cost, of authentic belief versus a belief built on illusion? Something to think about.